Congratulations, you have found the Lambcast, the official podcast of the large association of movie blogs, also known as the Lamb. The Lamb is the largest collective of online movie blogs and podcasts with 2,000 members and counting. Every week on the Lambcast, various members of the Lamb community get together to talk about our favorite subject, movies. So bookmark the Lamb and follow us on social media. Be sure to join us each week to hear a lively discussion of films and movie-related talk from our members. Join the flock at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Do you put ketchup on your hot dog? Order pizza with pineapple? Prefer phone calls to text messages? If so, you're on the wrong side of popular opinion. Some people may prefer cats to dogs, but dog owners outnumber cat owners by nearly 20 million. If you think The Phantom Menace is the best Star Wars movie, then you need to get some mustard, put down that Hawaiian slice, stop stroking the cat, and get a life. However, first, you should be on this show, where we're welcoming the unpopular opinion this week. Almost every movie has some fans and some haters, and this week on the Lambcast, number 797, we're looking for the outliers. I'm your host, Richard Kirkham from Kirkham A Movie A Day, and this week we're welcoming some guests who are willing to swim upstream on movies that the rest of the world feels differently about. It's no surprise that The Vern from Cinema Recall is with us for this show. His favorite Christmas movie is Eyes Wide Shut, and he championed both Howard the Duck and Showgirls to Movie of the Month status. Welcome, Vern.
Wow, Richard, everything you said there about pineapple on pizza and cat lovers, yeah, that's me. Sorry, well, hello, everyone.
So you're going to fit into this show very well.
I think so, yes.
Well, if you like unpopular opinions as much as a box of kittens being offered in front of the grocery store by cute kids, then you're going to love Dave Anderson's opinions on movies today. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks for having me, and Mr. Bonnie's not going to take offense at your opening statements. So.
And finally, our regular existentialist, Howard Casner from Pop Art, has joined us to confirm that he can find something to object to in any movie, or some movie that no one else has seen that he can praise. Hey, Howard, how's it going?
Well, every party needs a pooper. That's why you invited me.
There we go. Well, the guests were asked to bring 3 examples of films that they, 1, like and others don't, or 2, others love and they don't, or 3, any combination that feels outside of the mainstream. We're going to take turns sharing and sticking with the theme. Well, let's get into the known outlier first. Vern, what's the first film that you want to share with us this week, and why is it an outlier? Why is it an unpopular opinion that you have?
Wow, you're just throwing me into the deep end there. Just like go in there and swim, Vern, or let's get the hatred out there right away. All right, so my first example is a movie that I do not hate. I actually liked this movie. I think it's very enjoyable. I just don't quite understand the Oscar buzz this movie is getting, and that is Sinners. Now, I have loved Ryan Coogler's other films like Fruitvale Station and Creed. Creed was amazing. But this one just didn't impress me much. If I'm going to watch a movie about 2 brothers who go to a bar and fight vampires, I'd rather watch From Dusk Till Dawn because at least I can tell the differences between those 2 brothers than I could of Michael B. Jordan in Sinners. All I got from Sinners is that these 2 brothers want to open up a bar, and then vampires come and they ruin the day, and that is essentially it. If there's supposed to be a story about racial tension and whatnot, I don't think the screenplay emphasizes that, at least for me. And what I got was a very fun, enjoyable movie. And despite having one amazing sequence where it shows the sort of like history of pop music throughout the ages, that was an amazing sequence. I felt the rest of the movie to be just kind of bland. The horror effects weren't all that great, and some of the characterizations was just okay, but not great. It's a very good movie. I just do not understand the whole Oscar bait caliber of the movie. So it's a movie that I like, but I do not love.
Do you think that maybe it's just about kind of identity politics that's going on here? Maybe this is a film from a black filmmaker, and he's obviously talented and has achieved success in the past. And this is a big step for him to have a huge commercial success like this with a nearly entirely black cast. It's not entirely black cast, but
Well,
and with themes that deal with racial inequities from 100 years ago.
but he's dealt with
If
that before with like Fruitvale Station and even like Black Panther and whatnot. So he's dealt, and Black Panther was a Best Picture nominee as well.
Well, that's my question. Is this then merely an acknowledgement that he fits into a category and we need to acknowledge that category, and that's the reason that the film is getting its buzz rather than its inherent qualities? Or am I putting words in your
So
mouth? Because I don't want to do that.
no, no. I mean, it could be. I just thought it was just a very basic storyline. Two brothers want to open up a bar, and then vampires come, and that was all I really saw
By the way,
of the storyline.
I saw the film only once, and I remember a line from it that said that they were cousins, not brothers.
Oh, sorry, cousins.
I don't remember if
Well,
that was true or if they were giving that guy the business or if they really were just cousins. So
they're
I can't remember.
cousins,
We're just cousins.
identical cousins, and you'll find.
All right, Patty Duke.
So-
I think I love Sinners. I think it's one of the best movies of the year, but I think you hit on a point that maybe is an issue. I'm not sure what the allegory means.
that
Somewhere these vampires attacking um, this bar filled with black people. I'm, I'm missing what the theme is or what the idea is or what the allegory is. But still beyond that, I thought it was one of the best movies of the year, and it and One Battle After Another are probably going to get the most Oscar nominations.
ooh,
Well,
okay.
I, like I said, I like the movie pretty well. I'm don't want to say I'm entirely in Vern's category because I'm not sure. I doubt that it's deserves some of the things, some of the
Oh,
accolades that it's getting. But it didn't make my list of top 10 favorite films, and it's not. It's a little bit. I'm like Vern. I have a little bit of trouble understanding why it's gotten quite the praise it has. Although there are some fantastic that musical sequence that you've mentioned
yeah.
is in fact the
The
standout
score
thing in the film.
the score is like really good too, and I think all the actors are fine, but just it feels like the standard like vampire story, and it's a good vampire story, but it's not the vampire story I would see being caliber for like best picture and whatnot, you
Oh,
know.
okay.
Yeah, it's good, just not great, and I just don't understand why it's being like
Well, it's
praised so
kind of funny
much.
because genre pictures don't usually get those kinds of nominations, and this one is getting that nomination, and the question is why,
Well,
and you're struggling to answer that.
and I think you do have a point there too, Richard. Maybe it does have to do with the whole like race angle, the fact there's, black filmmaker tackling these subjects with race and using horror to do that. And I thought Jordan Peele did that really good with like Get Out and Us and whatnot. And I understand what Ryan Coogler was going for. I just wanted that element of racial tension to be stronger in the story than what I saw.
I gotcha. I
So,
gotcha.
For me, part of it could be, I thought it was on my top 10 list too. And, we went and saw it, it was pretty much when it first came out before momentum really started building up on this movie. And I came in with no real expectations, and vampire films are not my favorite subgenre. And this one just kind of knocked me out for a lot of the reasons you guys mentioned. And I hope it does some cleaning up at the Oscars because I've been really encouraged the past few years. There's been horror movies nominated for Best Picture, like The Substance and Get Out, and to have one that is considered one of the favorites uh, does a horror fan heart pretty good. So
Even as a horror fan, there's not enough horror in this to consider it to be a horror movie. I mean, just because vampires are in there, there's no really scenes of suspense or terror or even like gore for that matter too. Because like for horror films, especially about vampires, I want to see some like gory, bloody action and whatnot. I want to be disturbed actually in some way there, and it's yeah, I wasn't feeling that with this.
You weren't disturbed by the saliva being dripped onto Michael Jordan's face.
No, I was just hot. No, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Jesus.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, well, let's move on from
I'm
Sinners and
kidding.
see if Dave has something else for us in the next category. Are you hating on something that others love? Or are you loving on something that others hate, Dave?
I'm going to start by loving something others hate, and I'm going to go way back in time for most of my choices. And my first is, and I will stand by this opinion until the day I die, that Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is the best film in the Halloween franchise.
Yes. Oh, you're speaking about language.
Oh, I guess it's not an unpopular opinion.
Nope.
Well,
It appears not to be an
I
unpopular opinion on this show.
I like it the best too because I wasn't that big a fan of Halloween. We did Halloween Season of the Witch on Pop Art, and um, I think it's underrated. I definitely think it's underrated.
Okay, well, I guess there won't be much arguing on this one. It is though the black sheep of the series, and I saw the original Halloween when it was first released, and that was the first slasher movie I ever saw, and maybe the first horror movie I saw in a theater. Uh, an R-rated one anyway, and it was wild and fun and really scary at the time. And then we were saturated with slasher movies afterwards, most of them really terrible, including Halloween 2. Um, and by the way, I don't think Halloween should ever have been turned into a franchise in the first place. Uh, so for
Yep.
It
me, the
was
slash,
supposed to be. Actually, Halloween was supposed to be the name. Each movie was supposed to be a different story completely, like Season of the Witch.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
um,
But Halloween proved so popular, and Season of the Witch didn't prove so popular. There
yeah.
again.
Um, anyway, for me, slashers became pretty rote really quickly, and even rewatching the original Halloween was kind of boring. So when Halloween 3 came out, I was one of the few that was pleasantly surprised. There's no Michael Myers, there's no teenagers getting sliced and diced.
Well,
Um,
actually, must correct you there. Michael Myers is on the TV set at one moment.
oh, okay.
It's true.
Thank you
Well,
for clarifying that.
Like
Um,
I said, we have our party pooper.
well, I guess if we have to argue about stuff, might as well be that. Um, uh, it was atmospheric. It was, a supernatural sci-fi hybrid, which I like. Combining witchcraft and Celtic rituals to kill millions of children through a popular line of Halloween masks. I think it's a neat concept. I like the fact that it doesn't explain why they would want to do this really too much. The movie's not high art, but it's conceptually creative on a limited budget, and I like the apocalyptic undertones that are established later on. And it also features a great performance by Dan Harley.
Oh,
oh,
Hurley.
Haley.
Thank you.
Anna
Oh,
Hurley.
thank you. As the main antagonist, he appears congenial and menacing at the same time. And I don't know, this among cult fans, it was kind of a renaissance for him because he did this and then The Last Starfighter and RoboCop, and that's where he became on my radar as an actor. Um, and I really enjoy his performance in this one. It's got another great John Carpenter score, um, which I believe was almost the extent of his creative involvement. Um, and I guess the original screenwriter was Nigel Neal, who was famous for the Quatermass series. And he did not like the changes made to what finally came out, and he had his name removed from the credits. So it was even being dumped on by people involved in the film. But really, the biggest problem with Halloween 3 is that it's titled Halloween 3. You know,
Yes.
like you said, Howard, this was an attempt to just start a series of Halloween themed movies, and one can only wonder what would have happened if this one would have been successful, and we would get a new Halloween movie every year with a different story and a different tone and a different concept. It could have been a
Yeah,
cool.
it's like American Horror Story on television, where there's a different
Exactly.
story every year.
Yeah. And this is the one that I rewatch the most. It's I watch it every Halloween along with Psycho. Now that I no longer have kids, I have to take trick or treating.
Uh,
Well, I
it,
tell you, it's
well,
it's the one Halloween film other than the original that I've seen more than once. I've seen
yeah.
most of them one time, but the original Halloween and Season of the Witch are the two that I've seen multiple times.
It,
I do think you have the unpopular opinion when you say it's the best of the Halloween films, because I think that John Carpenter's original is sitting right there, and I know that you had your reservations about it, but I can't say that it's not a good movie. I think Season of the Witch is a lot of fun, and
it,
it's and the idea of the anthology, not the well, I guess you would call it anthology series. It's not an anthology movie, but if it was a series where we told a different story every year with Halloween as the covering title, I think that would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, those first three movies, Halloween 1, 2, and 3, definitely have like the stamp of like the filmmakers work on it, with like John Carpenter, Deborah Hill doing like the writing and producing, and Dean Cundey being the cinematographer for all three films, as well as John Carpenter doing the story. They worked with Alan Howarth. It has the same type of like feel in each movie, and then you go to like Halloween 4, 5, and 6 with the different directors, the tone changes and it doesn't feel like a Halloween movie like those first three did. So I enjoy the first three very much. I put Halloween 3 above, Halloween 2 in my ratings, but it is kind of fun to watch Halloween 1 and 2 back to back to see how closely Rick Rosenthal was trying to copy John Carpenter's style. And now with the third one with Tommy Lee Wallace directing it, he's also trying to copy John Carpenter's style. So if you did not know who the directors were, they all sort of feel like and look like John Carpenter movies, even though there are different directors doing it. And it's great that Tommy Lee Wallace followed up Halloween 3 with It with Tim Curry's, which is, a great adaptation of that book.
I disagree on Halloween too. I think it crapped all over what made the first film scary.
Fair enough.
Substituting gore for genuine shocks.
But
Um, the original Halloween ended on such a wonderfully ominous note that I like, to me,
oh,
I compare that ending to the ending of The Thing. I don't want to know what happens
oh,
next.
you're not wrong about that. I was talking about just like the look of it because it does do that same sort of like tracking shots that I had in the beginning of Halloween 1. And as a kid, I had no idea that it was a different person making Halloween 2 because Rick Rosenthal tried to copy John Carpenter's style very much as close as he can because John Carpenter didn't even want to do a Halloween 2, but I guess the studios, he was under contract where he had to give them like a sequel. And he said, I'll give you a sequel if we can make our Halloween 3 movie. And that, I think, is the reason how Halloween 3 got to be made and whatnot. I'm not entirely sure, but I know I've read something about that on that.
Well, studio politics aside, it sounds like we do have a little bit of an outlier here, so I appreciate your bringing that up to our attention, David. Thank you. Howard, are you going to be talking about something old, something new?
Well, I've, of course, as you won't be surprised, have quite a few unpopular opinions, but I'm going to go to the one that might get the biggest reaction here. So, if I survive this, um, outside of the opening scenes of Dunkirk, uh, uh, oh, all of a sudden, I forgot the name. movie I'm going for. Um, Shakespeare in Love is a far superior film to Saving Private Ryan in every single way.
Oh.
I think
Oh.
after the Dunkirk scenes in Saving Private Ryan, it becomes a routine John Wayne World War II, nothing special, with very flat characters and very flat dialogue, one-dimensional characters. I think the movie's immoral. Um, uh, Patton said, "You people think you win a win a war for dying for your country. You don't. You win a war by making the other person die for his country." And I'm going, I guess Spielberg didn't get the memo because he has these people for a publicity stunt. It's really just a publicity stunt, a morale booster, a publicity stunt. He's sending all these people behind lines to rescue one person, and they all die. And I'm going, well, that was a failure. Yeah, you rescued the person, but you killed seven others. I mean, this is really outrageous that nobody got upset over
Hmm.
this. People think it's based on a true story. It's not. It's suggested by a couple of things that happened, but this was totally fictional. This never happened. A group of soldiers were never sent behind enemy lines in order to rescue this one person. Shakespeare in Love has incredibly witty dialogue, incredible acting, except for the two leads. Uh, but everybody else is just remarkable. It's beautiful to look at. To me, it's just very moving and exciting and brings fresh insight into Shakespeare. Um, so there you got it.
Oh.
All right. Just a
I
couple of things before I let other people talk.
okay.
Howard, this is not meant as a criticism, just as a clarification. You're talking about Omaha Beach, not Dunkirk. You've conflated the different
Oh,
situation that's going
you're
on
right.
there.
I guess I did. So
You
sorry
know,
about that.
that's okay. I was confused at first because I thought, are we going to be talking about Dunkirk? Because I was ready to jump in on this right away.
I
Uh,
should have said D-Day. What I should have
yeah,
said is D-Day.
yeah, and I figured it out once you started talking about the movie, and I understand that. And by the way, at the time, I have subsequently changed my opinion, but at the time, I was with you. I like Shakespeare in Love better than Saving Private Ryan, not for the same reasons, but close. I think the opening scenes on Omaha Beach are some of the best filmmaking that has been done by Spielberg, but the story is
Yes.
not as strong as Shakespeare in Love, and I thought Shakespeare in Love was a more complete movie. I think I've altered my opinion over the last 25 years, but I understand your opinion. Now I'll let other people talk. Sorry about that, guys.
So I've only seen Shakespeare in Love like maybe once, and I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed everything you said about the movie, Howard. Saving Private Ryan, I think the same thing too. I've seen it once, and it becomes sort of like this hangout movie, and I didn't really feel any like big emotions with it. People tend to really love it. I like the opening sequence right there, but I do believe you're right, Howard. After that, it becomes kind of less. And tell me if I'm wrong because I'm not able to look this up or not. When did The Thin Red Line come out? The Terrence Malick movie. Was
That
that
was the same
Same
year.
year.
because I like The Thin Red Line more than I like
I
Saving
would
Private
agree.
Ryan.
I think the Thin Red Line, though I had some issues with it, mainly couldn't keep characters apart. But at
Yeah,
the same time, I think it's a better movie than Saving Private Ryan.
I was more intrigued by that than I was Saving Private Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I saw this in the theater, and it was, harrowing at times, and nothing topped that opening sequence, like you said. Uh, I do think I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Shakespeare in Love, but over the years, I've really grown to resent the level of historic importance a lot of people have put on this film, especially history teachers that I have worked with, uh, who have used it in class to actually teach something about World War II. Uh, uh, and the movie fails in that context. Like you said before, this is not a history lesson. Um, and as far as the best pictures that year, I personally thought Elizabeth was the best of the five nominees.
Oh, yes, 100% on that. I totally forgot that was being nominated. I would have picked that to win.
Yeah, I don't know what I would have picked to win. I probably had something that was neither Shakespeare in Love or Saving Private Ryan, but I have to go and look it up. The big problem with Shakespeare in Love is that is Fiennes, whatever his name is, the the brother of Ray
Joseph
Fiennes,
Fiennes.
Joseph Fiennes, yeah.
Joseph.
Joseph Fiennes, and then what's her name?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth
Um,
Paltrow.
I will never understand. Well, I sort of will understand, but I will never understand why she won, much less got nominated.
Me
I
either.
know it's all Weinstein, and he's if there was a person on a voter living in Nepal, he would track them down and show them this film as the joke they sort of made of it. She's just very flat. She always has been. She's not,
Well, that's because
there's
she's
nothing
wearing that
to
binding
her.
so tight to be able to play the part.
But
I'm sorry, that was a bad
everybody
joke.
else is great. Everybody else just gives remarkable, even Ben Affleck gives a good performance. Oh,
Wasn't there some controversy because Miramax pressed so hard to promote this uh,
yes,
Oh yeah, no,
during
Yeah.
award season
there was
that
a lot of
yes,
controversy
it
about the
changed
campaigning
how
and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it changed how campaigning was done, and everybody started doing what they did. And yes, it was very controversial.
All right. Well, I'll get to my first controversial film right here because you've alluded to a filmmaker in your discussion here that is the subject of my first unpopular opinion. This is a movie that has an 86% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, a 6.8 rating on IMDb, an 85% rating on Metacritic. It is so widely praised by people in the year it came out. It was nominated for Best Picture, and frankly, it is one of the most annoying movies I ever saw. And I wrote about it passionately at the time, and I remain passionate here 15 years later. The Tree of Life is one of the stupidest movies I've ever spent 2 hours and 20 minutes watching.
I love this so much. Oh
Oh,
gosh.
I it was
that's Terrence Malick, right?
yeah,
Yes,
it
it is.
Okay.
is.
Yeah.
It
It
is.
is.
Yes.
And it's just oh, so frustrating. Look, the best part of that, people who think that this is a beautiful piece of work must think that the best part of 2001 is the light show. Because
I like the
that
light show.
I do like Light
I
Show.
I like the light show too, but that's not the best part of 2001. And this movie is all light show. It's all an attempt to make the images tell a story, and they don't tell a story. I'm happy to see dinosaurs. It's interesting to see some of the scenery that's being shown. The image of the DDT being spread on the street is kind of haunting, but it's got nothing to do with anything. And for 2 hours, I watch Sean Penn and Brad Pitt wander around on screen, and the only direction that Malik seems to be giving the actors is to where to put their feet. Walk here, walk there, stand here, don't move, look in that direction, don't do anything interesting, and then he moves on to the next scene where they don't do anything interesting again. It is, I frankly said it in the most derogatory way I could think of. Uh, on the day I die, I'm going to ask people to play this movie because it'll make it feel like I got 3 weeks extra life because it took so long to get through it. It was such a slog.
All
This
right.
movie is irritating as all hell.
So, what do you really think of this movie?
Yeah, there you go.
So my,
Didn't
my
love that.
favorite thing, Richard, is I saw this movie twice in theaters, right? First of all, I watched it because I wanted to see this movie being played on the big screen. And then I rewatched it again, and my favorite thing is watching other people get frustrated at the movie. And I really enjoyed
Well, then you must be enjoying this immensely.
when I see people try squirming and like people start getting frustrated and see people try to get up, but then sit back down again, and then they're like talking to their friends like, "Oh, can we go now? Like this movie's taking too long." And then, oh, that was like just pure heaven. Just watching people get angry at this movie
Well,
was just
I
joy.
told people I'd rather sit through an insurance seminar followed by a division meeting of my colleagues at school, and then a ghostwriter Donnie Darko double feature before I subject myself to this film again.
Oh, but
Well, I will give my unpopular opinion of your unpopular opinion. I really like the film. I liked it very
I
much. The middle section is to me is incredible, but that may be because that was my childhood and that's how I grew up. And it just got it so brilliantly and so perfectly that I found I couldn't look away. The I can see why people are frustrated with it because what does it mean? And you talk about it not telling a story. He gets far worse in movies after this, where I'm going, I have no idea what is going on. But this one did work for me. And basically, the movie is birth, which is the dinosaurs, life, which is the early scene of Sean Penn when he was a character when he was a child, and then death, because that's what Sean Penn is doing. He's dying and moving on to the next life. And I just found it all
It
quite
just wasn't,
fascinating.
he
But
just wasn't dying fast enough.
well, that could be. That could be. I could
I'm sorry.
understand.
the
That's me, sorry.
the
Yeah. So,
cinematography that Emmanuel Lubitsky does is incredible, and to see that on the big screen is really cool. It's like watching like almost
It's
like a
like
whole
watching
movie
a
from God.
screensaver that I had 20 years ago.
Oh no, it's much more than that. I love the cinematography. It's almost like God holding a
It's
camcorder.
beautiful, but it's like I said, I wouldn't pay to watch a screensaver for 2 hours and 19 minutes.
I say
And
it's not
this
driven
movie
by
felt that way.
story.
Yeah.
It's not
I
driven by plot. It's driven by
That's for sure.
feelings and images and impressionism and expressionism and just mood and tone.
I think I like Malik better when he had no money.
Like like you have for Badlands.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought he was a little bit pretentious, but um,
I think
yeah.
he's more than a little bit.
Well, I'm glad that some people recognize the pretension, even if they disagree with my disagreeable opinion. That's okay. Vern, we're back to you. What have you got for your next movie? Are we going to get something that you like and other people don't like this time?
I think so, and we're gonna go to a pretty, I guess, somewhat popular franchise. It started in 1884, when a group of like actors came together to make a comedy about scientists that defeat ghosts. Uh, and I'm going to go move away from that to a 2016 reboot of sorts where a bunch of like women fight ghosts. Yes, I'm doing the 2016 Paul Feig Ghostbusters, and I think it's one of the best in the franchise next to the first two. And I like the 2016 Ghostbusters more than I did Afterlife and Frozen Empire. Because I think the issue that people have with the new Ghostbusters is that I think a lot of people, especially from like my generation, is that they forget the first Ghostbusters that was directed by Ivan Reitman and written by Harold Ramis, is that they forget that the first one is supposed to be like a comedy about these losers who happen to defeat ghosts. And I think the 2016 feature that Paul Feig did that had Kristen Wiig and gosh, I'm blanking on her name right now.
Melissa
Uh,
McCarthy.
Elizabeth McCarthy, and
What's her
uh,
name?
Le
Leslie Jones.
thank you, Leslie Jones. Yeah, is that these are also about these four kind of like losers who happen to defeat ghosts. See, when the first movie came out in '84, you had these big comedians at the time, Bill Murray and Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd. And I would almost compare it like if you were to make the same sort of caliber movie for people, it would be like having Adam Sandler, Kevin James, Chris Rock, and Rob Schneider defeat ghosts. Uh, But now the fact that a lot of people in my generation, we've seen like the real Ghostbusters, we have these toys, we emulate those Ghostbusters as being like hero characters, and they're not. They're comedic characters. And so what I thought what Paul Feig did with his reboot is cast all these really famous female comedians at the time and have them be these lovable losers that have defeated ghosts. And I found it to be just a lot of fun, much more than I did with like Afterlife and Frozen Empire, because those movies try to emulate that these characters are like heroes and it becomes like an adventure story more than a comedy movie. And what Paul Feig movie does is that he puts that comedy element into it. It's a comedy movie, not so much an adventure superhero movie. So I actually really enjoy the Ghostbusters Answer the Call a lot more than a lot of other people do. I think it's a fun movie. I think the 3D effects are really good. I think the cast of characters work very well with each other. And I almost put the 2016 Ghostbusters above Ghostbusters 2. They're like both on that same wavelength there. I mean, nothing will ever beat the first Ghostbusters 84. That movie is a masterpiece classic. But Ghostbusters 2 and then this one, they're almost like line and line neck with each other. With Ghostbusters 2, they'd be edged out slightly because of the original cast.
I would agree with that. It also features Chris Hemsworth's best performance.
Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Well, this movie got a huge amount of hate before it ever came out, and I thought that most of that was unjustified. But I do think that the haters were closer to the truth than the naively optimistic. This movie should work. You've got comedians who are funny most of the time. The change in gender shouldn't, it should offer us some opportunities for different kinds of laughs. The problem isn't the concept per se, and it isn't really the casting per se. I don't think those are the issues. I think the issue is that they just don't get the tone right. The first one is a loosey-goosey kind of goofball enterprise that where other people are taking things seriously and the main Ghostbusters barely take it seriously. And of course, it's dominated by Bill Murray. In this version of the Ghostbusters, it just feels like everybody is straining to be funny and they never are. I thought that
Oh,
my memory of it is that I laughed more at the end credits than I did at the rest of the movie. And there are there's some good scenes in the movie. I like some of the ghost effects that they had, but I can't remember a sequence that stands out in my head from that film. Whereas there are dozens of things that will stand out from the original film. And the subsequent films, I think you can have a perfectly reasonable argument about whether or not they are good or as good. They're certainly not as good as the original Ghostbusters. Uh,
well,
but yeah, I don't know that you can ever create the karma and the personality that you get in that first film because it was so dependent on those four quirky guys that we got together as the Ghostbusters, plus the secondary characters. My goodness, you got Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis in the film also. And I don't think the Chris Hemsworth thing, I think, is probably the thing that works the best when it comes to kind of the comedy bit.
Now, this is a property to me that should never have been a franchise in the first place.
Yeah, we're back to the
Um,
thing. There shouldn't have
yep.
been a sequel.
Yep. Yeah. Oh,
I haven't seen the film, so I can't say.
okay.
it's watchable, but it's.
I thought Kate McKinnon was good as being, like lead on. And I like it's fun because if this one was a success, they did have a follow-up with this one because Sigourney Weaver does show up in a cameo as like an end credit like spoiler right there. And if this movie was a success, it would have had a different storyline. And I'd much rather have a storyline with these ladies that I did with the kids from Afterlife because that almost felt like member berries and nostalgia going, hey, remember this? Remember this? Oh, we got some State Farm Marshmallow guys here. And it just felt like they were trying to that one felt like they're more trying to recapture the magic of the first one. And at least this one try to do something new and different. It may be the Halloween 3 of the franchise.
Well, it certainly is on your list.
No, on everyone's list too.
Dave, what's your second film?
Okay, my second choice is also from the 80s, and I have raised the ire of fans regarding my opinion of this one. And it's considered a classic today. But in my opinion, Blade Runner is one of the most overrated sci-fi movies
Oh,
ever made.
oh, you're breaking my heart. Oh,
You
oh
know,
my gosh. Oh,
th- this.
oh, crying here. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have some tissue handy if you need
Oh,
it.
thank you.
This came out when I was 18, and I couldn't wait to see it. I mean, the trailer looked phenomenal. The ad campaign in the newspapers looked great. I mean, Ridley Scott, who just was fresh off of Alien, which I loved. Harrison Ford was, one of the biggest stars in the world, or becoming the biggest star in the world at the time. Um, and that trailer that depicted Los Angeles in the future with flying cars and pyramid-shaped buildings and impossibly high skyscrapers, this neon wonderland and stuff. So I was there to see it the weekend it opened, and with that opening shot, my mind was blown, and I just knew this was going to be great. Uh, and then for the rest of the movie, I kept waiting for it to get great, and it never did. I thought it was long and slow and boring. It had no characters who were interesting or even likable. And I wasn't the only one who thought so at the time. It tanked at the box office and really wasn't a critical darling either. And then I know today it's considered one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever made. But to me, aside from the special effects and the production design, I still do not get what's so great about it. And I have tried multiple times to appreciate it, from rewatching the original to rewatching the director's cut, which, removed his pointless, Harrison Ford's pointless narration. And I still think it's thematically superficial and dramatically slight. I don't think Deckard is a likable character, and none of the other characters were interesting either. Um, and Logan's Run may have been visually archaic by 1982, but at least I sort of liked the characters. Well, I liked Jenny Agutter, but Harrison Ford is absolutely wooden in this one. Um, uh, and the antagonist, Roy Batty, he's well played by Rutger Hauer. I'll give it that. He's a cold-blooded killer throughout the movie, and then we're suddenly asked to care whether he lives or dies at the end because he gives a poetic monologue. I didn't feel anything during this movie, and I've never been able to shake the feeling that the special effects are the sole reason this movie was made in the first place. And I like Ridley Scott a lot, but his track record has always been spotty. I loved Alien, I loved Thelma and Louise, and The Martian, and Black Hawk Down. I even enjoyed Hannibal more than most people. Uh, but I think this is one of his weakest movies from a storytelling standpoint. But oddly enough, uh, I really loved Blade Runner 2049. Uh, I think because I felt more effort was put into the story and the characters, but I gave up trying to appreciate Blade Runner a long time ago.
I know it's the case with a lot of like friends where I've shown Blade Runner 2049 to, and they seem to enjoy that more than Blade Runner. And I agree with you on your statements you said there about the storyline moving like slow and Harrison Ford's performance, but then again, Harrison Ford is supposed to be an android, especially if you watch the final cut of this. He is supposed to be wooden because maybe he is an android after all. And I think that
Which the
Rutger
second
Hauer,
film totally undermines that theory.
what was that?
I said, and the second film totally undermines that theory.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen the second one, but uh, I think this movie is absolutely just phenomenal. From the look of it, it's got this like noir, neo-noir capabilities about it, and it's just a comfort movie that I just like put on. I love like the action sequences at the end. Daryl Hannah does a great job with this. Joanna Cassidy is great in this one too. Yeah, just the look of it is great. You got that great Vangelis score as well. I've read the book that this came from, the Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and I think this is a different adaptation. I like movies that are different from the book as well. So I love the movie, but I could totally understand why people find this to be slow because yeah, it does run a little bit slow. I think this is one of like for me, this is one of Harrison Ford's like best characters. I like Deckard more than I probably liked Han Solo in a way. Yeah, this is another controversial opinion right there. But
I
yeah,
like when he forces himself on another android.
oh, but he
Yeah.
doesn't add no, but you see that's oh I don't think of it as him like forcing himself on her. Uh she's both an android and he's an android and they're both trying to establish, chemistry and love with each other. It's I don't consider that all to be a sexual assault scene as other people do.
Oh, I don't like that
I
scene.
I
I
don't like the film. Uh, I don't like the film either. I think it's very slow, very boring. I think it probably is Harrison Ford's worst performance. I mean, Harrison Ford never showed a great range, but this was even pretty cardboard by his standards. And yeah, outside of the production design, the mood, the tone, and everything, it's very slow moving and not particularly interesting.
Everybody who says
Very
this
slow.
movie is slow and boring and likes the Tree of Life needs to take a step back and reassess your life. By the way, I understand the criticism of this movie. It is slow, it is methodical. It feels like it should be an action film, but it's not an action film. It's a mediation piece, a meditation piece, I should say, where
Yeah.
people are, considering what is the nature of life. It asks some of those questions about AI that we find in a lot of films nowadays and it asks those questions 40 years before we were thinking about them in the same kind of depth. And it is a spectacular looking film. I understand, like we were talking about before, that it's not everybody's cup of tea. I have grown to appreciate the film. I've seen all the five different versions of it, and I've enjoyed all of them, although I don't find that they changed my attitude about the film substantially from one version to another. I know a lot of people think, oh, we get to the director's cut or the final cut, and suddenly it means something completely different. I'm going, no, that's pretty much what it meant before. They just put a different tone on it to get this across and sell it a little bit more efficiently. But uh, if we're gonna, like I said, Dave, you were right about the film being slow and ponderous. However, at least you get something to look at that's worth looking at.
Yeah, but Kubrick made the slowest sci-fi movie of all time, and it's consistently interesting to watch.
It is, and it's hard to say that the
Right.
characters in 2001 are more interesting characters. Hal,
They
at least, is
are.
a more interesting. Hal is a more interesting character than Deckard is. But
That was on
that's
purpose.
yeah. All right. Let me see. Where are we? Howard, it's your turn again. So, what have you got to diss or praise that other people have praised or dissed?
Well, I'm going to go with the movie I think is underrated, though I understand why people have issues with it or have problems with it. And we're back to Steven Spielberg, and this is 1941, which I really like. I've seen it 3 times, and I really like this film. The problem is that Spielberg made a big mistake in like the first maybe I can't remember how many minutes, 20, 25 minutes even. The movie starts out on a scale on a level of tension of 1 to 10 on a 12. And there's no place you can go from there. So you have this whole thing at the beginning where that is just too high, too much, too big. once it gets to the USO scenes, it's come back down and it can start building again. And from that point, it's brilliant for me. I think it's hysterical. I love every moment of it. I could watch it again, but you do have to get through those opening scenes and realize, yeah, this he started it too high, and he needed to have started it more at a 3 or 4 instead of a 12. So that's
So,
that.
so, I mean, of Steven Spielberg's earlier films, the only one that I have not seen of his is the Sugarland Express. Is that more of like a comedy
No,
than?
No,
Oh, it's
that's
not.
not
No,
a.
but it's one of, I think it's one of his best, but
Okay,
people have
but
different opinions on that.
then he did like a Duel and then Jaws and then this was the next film he made. Or after Close
right.
Encounters. Did he do Close Encounters before
Yeah,
this or?
yeah. Close
Yeah.
Encounters was next.
I
Oh,
think
okay,
Sugarland Express was before Jaws.
I
Yeah.
think
I
so.
could be wrong,
Okay.
but I think it's Jaws.
No, Duel, Sugarland Express, Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1941.
So with like all those three, Duel, Jaws, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, no one really expected Spielberg at the time to do like this comedy. And I'm curious if this movie became a success, would he have gone and done more comedies
God, I
than he
hope
would
not.
be adventures? So it is kind of fascinating because you don't really see Steven Spielberg making straight out comedies anymore because of the failure
And I think
of
this film
1941.
tells you why, because he
Well,
doesn't really have the touch for it. Hey, look,
he has,
there
no,
there
he
are
has
funny
made
bits,
comedies.
there are funny things in the movie, but I think Howard's right. It starts over the top at the very beginning, and you never have any place to go from there except down, and that's what happens. You just keep going down, and
So,
stuff that would
I
have worked
just,
if it hadn't already been, shouted at you that this is supposed to be funny, just doesn't come across as funny, although it should.
Shattered is the operative term there. I found this movie phenomenally irritating the whole way through, and I was looking forward to it because of Spielberg, and it was just. I think you're right. He does not have the touch to do a straight comedy. I mean, he tackles a lot of genres, and he has, most of his movies have healthy doses of comedy, but to focus solely on that, I don't think he has it in him.
so and the strange thing too is like I like Howard. I did enjoy 1941 when I watched it. I think there are some good comedy moments in this. I don't think it works all the way through, but it is kind of fascinating for me to see a director try different things because I recently watched Wise Guys from Brian De Palma, and it was his first time doing like a straight out comedy with Danny DeVito and Joe Piscopo, and that was weird seeing a director go outside his usual genre, and to see Spielberg do that for this, it was a fun experiment. It's not one that I want to watch again, but I would watch it again if it does have that Spielberg commentary track, but he doesn't really do commentary tracks because I find a director's failures to be much more interesting than a lot of their successes. So yeah, I had fun with this movie.
Well, it sure
I,
was
I
an
will
expensive
disagree
experiment.
that I will disagree that he hasn't made comedy since then. He hasn't made farces since then, and
Okay,
this is a farce. But he's
yes.
done comedy like Catch Me If You Can and The Terminal, which Terminal's a romantic comedy, and Catch Me If You Can. It's a very funny movie. Um,
Yeah, but I
but
wouldn't,
he
I
has
would,
not
I
done a
wouldn't, I
farce.
wouldn't classify Catch Me As You Can as a comedy, but it does have a lot of humor and a lot of fun. And same thing with The Terminal. The Terminal is more, like you said, maybe a romantic comedy, but this is, I'm sorry, this came out like the year after uh, Animal House, and it was like he was trying to do Animal House, and it doesn't work, and you can just see that it's not working repeatedly. And I think there are people who are very good at doing comedy who understand something funny. They don't always get it right. There are plenty of, good comedy directors who have made lousy comedy films, but they're a lot more consistent in their approach and their success than Spielberg has been, and especially when you look at this particular film.
Well, it plays to me like a movie that was getting out of control during production, and they just kept throwing more money and more spectacle at it, hoping to save it.
Yeah, I think that comes across. All right. Well, I'm gonna move in here with I've got one more negative kind of thing, and that way I get to finish with the more positive thing. Although you guys will probably react to it negatively. Uh, but my next film is another one of those films that got a whole bunch of praise, a bucket load of Academy Award nominations. It's highly rated. It's got an 8.2 rating on IMDb, and if you know how the IMDb ratings work, that's pretty damn high. 79% on Rotten Tomatoes, 75% on Metacritic, and it comes from one of our greatest filmmakers, Martin Scorsese. I think The Wolf of Wall Street is a pile of crap.
So do I.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
I don't think it's a
okay.
pile of crap. It's two-thirds of a really good movie, and then it falls apart
Well,
in the last third.
there's no character arc in the story. Everyone starts out as a greedy bastard.
Exactly.
Everyone ends up as a greedy bastard. No one's enlightened or changed as a result of the events that take place in the movie. It's just we get to watch people indulge in abhorrent behavior for 2.5 hours, and
That's
you know,
why the Act Three doesn't work.
after the first round of seeing that, I said, okay, I've seen this. And then we're showing it again. And then we're showing it again. And it just doesn't feel like there's any point to the film except to show us the excesses of these people. And like I said, I got it after the first 20 minutes and kept waiting for something interesting to happen. And it just kept irritating me every time they went back to it. Look, DiCaprio, you want to take on this. I thought DiCaprio was better in a 2-minute scene in The Great Gatsby than in this whole film.
I think it
Is it?
was good in
Oh,
both. So
I
yeah,
think DiCaprio is actually really good in this. And for me, uh, it's that last shot of the camera pointing at the audience, and I think Martin Scorsese is trying to make a statement about people who idolize this type of like character because Jordan Belfort is a guy who gets rich very quick and easy by these very various means, and he just to experience all these things. And don't get me wrong, watching it, it becomes sort of like a drug in a way. Like, yeah, you kind of wish all these things would happen to you, but he does all these like horrible things to make it happen. So in a way, I kind of feel like Scorsese was making like a comment on our enjoyment of this like lifestyle, especially back to the time too, because I remember shows like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and the whole idea about the enjoyments of access and wealth. And to me, it felt like more of like a cautionary tale. And to me, it's just funny watching people fail. And I enjoyed that very much. And all the things he's trying to do to escape from the feds and his whole notion of trying to get home while being high on Quaaludes. I think that Leonardo DiCaprio does do a really great job with this performance, and it's a cautionary tale, and I love that very much about it.
I think this is
I just
Scorsese at his most superficial and heavy-handed. This is, to me, this is like Brian De Palma's Scarface for a different century. I also think Scarface
Oh,
was similarly reveled in excess for excess sake. And I almost was going to talk about Scarface as being one of the most overrated movies. And I agree wholeheartedly. There is nothing behind this movie except surface gloss and excess. And I'm a huge Scorsese fan.
isn't
I
that the
was
point of the
phenomenal.
movie? Was that's the whole point of it, to have the super excess and gloss of it, and
well,
realize the downfall
Not
of it
from
the
as
problem
well?
Scorsese,
is
not from Martin Scorsese. No, I think.
I
Go
I
ahead.
think the problem is he couldn't resolve the morality or the themes of it, and he's had this problem in other films too, even things like uh, Goodfellas, where he's this Catholic and he wants to say all these things are wrong, but in the end, what he says is greed is good until it's not. Drugs are good until it's not. Sex is good until it's not. He doesn't really condemn it. He only really condemns that they didn't get away with it in many ways. That Um, and I think that's where it falls apart. I think that's why the last third, he tries to say something moral about it, but then contradicts it completely in the film. And I think he's done this before. Um, I don't think this might be another controversial movie. I don't think Scorsese has made a satisfactory film since Kundun. And I really
Really?
haven't liked his films since then. I think they've all fallen short. But I understand this. I really like the first two thirds, and then it just, yeah, he can't carry it through. He can't figure out what he wants to say. He likes the excess too much to fully condemn it.
Well, I'll take what I can get on that, so I'll feel a little bit more vindicated as a result. Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as to say that he hasn't made a good film since Kundun. I think the year it came out, I thought Hugo was the best movie of that year, and I'm
Hugo was amazing.
I think it was terrific, and he understood how to use 3D in that situation, and told a story that it was interesting and had a lot of heart to it, as well as spectacular looks. I think this film came out the the next year, and it was like everything that he did the year before, he did the opposite of, and pissed me off. Maybe that's
Maybe
just me.
that maybe that was his response to Hugo's financial failure. I don't know.
That could be it. That could be it. Well, Vern, it's your turn. What's your last film?
Oh gosh. All right. Well, this I've had some struggles with even trying to think of a third thing to like talk about. Do I go like overrated or underrated? I'm just gonna go to like my list of some of the movies that I thought was a little bit like overrated. I'm going to my list of 2025, and this is a movie that I know it's being praised from a lot of people in my film crit circles and whatnot. And I found the movie just to be a little bit kind of wrong in its tone telling. I'm gonna do Sorry Baby. Sorry Baby from I think it is who's the director of this? I had to look this up again right now. Eva Victor. And it is a story about a woman who was sexually assaulted and how she overcomes that. The issue I have with the movie is that it's a movie about sexual assault, but never really tells you what the assault is. And I'm not saying the movie has to like give you like explicit details and whatnot, but it doesn't convey enough information for me to care or understand these characters because one sequence that people praise in this movie and I never really understand it is that it shows a shot of the house and you just see time changing of the house going from light to dark and she leaves and when she tells her friends about the attack everything feels very vague and you're not quite sure what to believe or not to believe. And it's a movie that it would be fun to have like different viewpoints and have you decide who is real and who is not. And it kind of reminded me of that other film that came out in the same year, After the Hunt.
I
And
was going to mention that because I was thinking the exact same thing. It's like that, and after that, which is a problem there too.
yeah, exactly. 'Cause, I mean, I could put that on this list as well too. But it's just the whole like add to it. There's like one sequence where the doctor is trying to find out, hey, what happened to her so I can give her the best treatment. And her best friend's like, it doesn't matter what happened to her. All right. You should do something to help her out. And the doctor's like, I don't know how to help this lady out because I don't know exactly what he did. And when Ava Victor's character is describing the sequence, it's like he wanted to kiss me, and at first I liked it, but then I didn't want to. And it's like, well, if you don't want him to do something, why didn't you just say, hey, do something, not do this? And I don't know. It's supposed to be about this woman who overcomes these obstacles, but I don't know exactly what happened in this moments that she was so traumatized for. And there's one sequence That totally reminded me of Todd Solondz type of thing that he would put in his movies, where she's talking to another coworker because both of these characters are trying to get this job at this teacher at this university, and her colleague is like, "Well, I slept with him, and I never got the job, and suddenly like you had this happen to you, and now you get the job." And Ava Victor's character is so traumatized by this that it becomes somewhat like a dark comedy. And I don't know if that's what the filmmakers are trying to go for with this. I just felt like the tones were off on Sorry Baby. And this is a movie that's I know it's been getting a lot of like praise. I know it's been up for like a couple of Critics' Choice Awards and Golden Globes, and it may even be up for some Oscar nominations, but I just found the tone of this just to be fully off.
Well, I have no opinion because I haven't seen it, so
I haven't
Okay.
either.
Yeah.
it's hard for me to interject any comment. It was a film that got mentioned on our show last week about the top 10 lists, and I was on at least one list, and it might have been a second list that got mentioned, a mention as well. But I don't know anything about it other than what I've heard just now.
That's fair. It's got 97% on Rotten Tomatoes and 7.2, 90% on Rotten on Metacritic. So I know like a lot of people like really love this movie, and I'm like I don't quite understand, except for like Ivanovic's performance, which is good and it's a good debut film, but I don't see it being like Oscar caliber. I have the same issues too with like If I Had Laid, I'd Kick You too. So
All right. Well, Dave, what are you going to finish off with?
Well, you in your email to us suggested ideas, and one of them was a movie that changed your mind, and I thought that was intriguing.
Okay.
And at first, I was going to write about or talk about Citizen Kane, and I was, getting into it, putting my notes together, and I just thought, well, it's going to be boring talking about Citizen Kane, about how much I disliked it when I was younger and love it now. And I'm not going to talk about anything that has been talked about over the past 80 years about that movie. So I chose the 1981 movie Heavy Metal.
oh
Um,
nice.
uh, uh,
Which
I
way are you
thought this.
going on
Yeah,
this?
I'm definitely going down on this one. It's a 1981 animated anthology film based on stories from a popular magazine, which I never read. And I thought the movie was great when I was in high school. I also love the soundtrack, which was really popular with my circle of friends. And seeing it in a packed theater was pretty cool, partially because of the novelty of an R-rated animated film with blood and gore and sex and gobs of nudity, but also because I was pretty stoned at the time. Um, and after that, I didn't get another chance to see it for years. In fact, nobody did, aside from it showing up on HBO on occasion, which I didn't have. Heavy Metal was impossible to see at home. It wasn't available on home video for years, 15 years, in fact. Apparently, because it took forever to acquire the rights to use all the music from the soundtrack. And its long absence from home video kind of added to its mystique for me and some other movie collectors that I knew. So it became kind of a holy grail. And then I think it was 1996. It finally came out on VHS, and I snapped up my copy the day it was released, and I couldn't wait to get home and watch it. But by this time, I was in my 30s and married for the second time and had my first daughter, and I no longer partied like it was 1999. But I still remembered it being a colorful and violent fantasy. And but it was less than 5 minutes into the film that I noticed right away that the animation is actually pretty shitty. There's a lot of rotoscoping, which is one of the reasons I hate Ralph Bakshi's movies.
I
Yeah,
love that. The
and
scoping.
I can't stand it.
Oh, it's so okay.
It's lazy. The animation in Heavy Metal makes Saturday morning cartoons look like the work of Pixar. And it only got worse. The stories were simplistic and stupid and clumsily linked by a dumb wraparound story. The dialogue was god awful, and the characters were one dimensional. And every story either features a ton of gory violence, juvenile humor, or impossibly voluptuous female characters with bowling balls for breasts. And Uh, I just, I occasionally enjoy gratuitous sex and violence as much as the next guy, but watching this is like watching the fantasies of a 13-year-old boy. And especially when you're clear headed. I thought it was a chore to sit through this time and felt no fun nostalgia that I did with other childhood favorites. In fact, I even felt a little bit of self embarrassment that I ever championed this as a great movie. I know it still has its fans, but for me, it's only good if you're intoxicated.
Well, I remember seeing it and liking it, but I haven't seen it since then. So I have no idea how I'd feel about it. I haven't really been that interested in seeing it again. I have a feeling I might go in your direction if I do see it again.
Well, I understand how opinions about films can change over the years, and frankly, I've seen there are a couple of movies that I've gone through that with back and forth repeatedly. Uh, just as a quick illustration, I didn't want to get bogged down in them. I have loved Apocalypse Now and hated Apocalypse Now, and then loved it again and then hated it again. Sometimes it's a matter of your frame of mind at the time. Sometimes it's a question of what is it that you're looking at that is important to you. So it's easy to bounce back and forth sometimes, but this sounds like it's a downgrade, and I think I understand. You grew up a little bit, and what is entertaining to you as a child or as a young man is not necessarily the same thing that's going to be entertaining to you as an adult, and you can see some of the problematic elements in it. Look, Heavy Metal magazine was a counterculture magazine that was designed to entertain people who exactly fit in the category that you described. They're high and young and horny, and there you go. High, young, and horny. There you go. That's what you need. I would get the young and horny. I was never high because I didn't do that, but the other things were the things that drew me into the film. I actually did see this film at the Cinerama Dome in Hollywood when it first opened, and I enjoyed the heck out of it, but I loved the music, and that's one of the things that made me enjoy it so much. Uh, and you're right, it was practically invisible for years, hard to come by. Uh, it did appear on Laserdisc. I'm trying to remember if the Laserdisc was available before the VHS. I think it might have been. It was one of those holy grail kinds of things that people tried to get a hold of, and I finally got a hold of it. And when I watched it, I remembered it pretty well, and it's exactly the way you described. And it's not a great movie, but if you want your 13-year-old horny young man to thrive a little bit, then I guess you could probably enjoy it. But I understand why you would dismiss it at this point in your life.
It does have the feel of like older like comic books and comic styles of it, and I enjoy the animation despite some of it being rotoscoped. And rotoscoped animation does take some effort to do that because I'm comparing Richard Linklater's Wait in Life to A Standard Darkly. Both are like rotoscope, and I think one rotoscope works better than the other. I think the rotoscope here, I had no idea that this movie was rotoscope because I
Not all
thought
of it.
Not all
No,
of it.
no.
not all of it.
Okay, but even the stuff that was, it looks like legitimately cool. And honestly, I think the best version of heavy metal was done in South Park. The Major Boobage episode where they did a whole take on heavy metal. That was absolutely brilliant because they actually do capture the style of that sequence in that episode better than any other has before. So, I enjoyed the animation of this a bit. I thought it'd be kind of intriguing to have like an R-rated, almost like mostly hand-drawn animation. I agree, the storylines are very weak. The voice, even though this does have the voice work of John Candy and Joe Flattery, uh, their voice work in this doesn't seem like they're actually there. It's like the voice work for this is off. It almost feels like very canned and not quite. Some actors are recording their dialogue too loud and some not loud enough. Yeah, it's got a 66% rating, and I can see that. It's a fine movie. I think I have a VHS of it somewhere, and it's fun, but I can understand why people don't like this.
All right, Howard, it's your turn to finish off. What have you got?
Well, I did the same thing Dave did. I took a film that, in this case, I didn't like when I first saw it and then have changed. my opinion on, and that is, um, oh gosh, how did I do that? My mind is not working. Um,
I know that feeling
David
entirely, Sonny.
Lynch. It's David Lynch.
Lost Highway.
Um, no, because I loved Lost Highway when I first saw it. I still like it. Um, did in 2001.
Oh, Mulholland
Mulholland
Drive?
Drive?
Mulholland Drive. Sorry, I don't know
Right.
why my mind went blank. Yes, when I first saw Mulholland Drive, it just didn't work for me. I didn't get it. I have a hard time following what was going on. It never made any sense to me. And then I read something and it changed everything. It might have been Pauline Kael, I don't know. But I read that the first part is the dream.
Hmm?
The second part is reality. And when I saw it, I thought the first part was reality and the second part was the dream, but I
Oh,
had it backwards. Once I knew that, it was like the skies opened up and the sun came out. And I've seen it a couple of times since then. And I agree with people who think it's one of the best, if not the best movie of the new millennium.
it's one of my favorite David Lynch movies for sure.
Well, have an embarrassing acknowledgement and admission to make. I hadn't seen it up until this last year. And when I saw it this last year, I kicked myself saying, why have you avoided this movie for 24 years? This is fantastic. I really liked the film from the first time I saw it. I think part of it was, what you were talking about, Howard, I know there's this dreamlike quality to it, and some of it is supposed to be. Um, Fantasy and some of it's supposed to be reality and I'd heard that kind of and I thought that was a little off-putting to me. I said, just tell me a straight story. But
Oh,
Richard Farnsworth was not available. Sorry, another joke. Uh, but when I saw this, I really appreciated the way it looked. I was fascinated by the way the stories interlocked and changed, and the way they were connected by the end. So I don't have the same experience that, pardon me, that you have of changing my opinion, but I did come to the opinion that you seem to have finally.
and the weird thing too, I did not know about it, and I've seen Mulholland Drive like a bunch of times, and I had no idea exactly what the story is about the first half being a dream, the second half being reality. I just kind of enjoyed just solving the mystery because when I first watched it, I really thought that everything was going on in the first half was real. I was following this girl trying to solve who she was with this other girl, and the fact that I didn't quite understand it did not mean I didn't enjoy the movie because it has a lot of great sequences. I think Naomi Watts and Laura L. and Elena Harris are absolutely great in this movie. Yeah, it's got some really scary sequences and some very funny moments in this, and I just kind of enjoyed watching it. And it's fun watching it each time to see if you can understand it and realize you can't understand it. It's okay. I can still enjoy the movie just from what it is.
I gotta confess, it's on my list of shame. I have not yet seen this.
Well, then all of a sudden I feel less embarrassed.
I'm glad.
And I think when you do see it, you'll discover that it is really a very good film and deserves the accolades that it had. But I always hesitate to put too much pressure on people about those things because then if it doesn't live up to your expectations because your expectations are so high, you'll be disappointed. And
I don't think I'll have high expectations. I'm not the biggest David Lynch fan,
okay,
so I might be pleasantly surprised.
Well,
we'll keep our
and,
fingers
Just
crossed on that.
remember, just remember the first part is a dream, the second part is reality.
and even if you don't
So this,
understand that part of it, I still find it to be a fun, enjoyable movie just because of the camera work and the characters. It's funny too, like you liked this movie and you didn't like, Tree of Life, and I find both movies to be sort of like mood pieces in a way. Like it's not so much concentrate on storyline than it is on characters and moods. And even David Lynch have stated before that he doesn't want everyone to really understand his movie. He wants people just to feel his movies and just kind of like do it from that aspect of it.
Well, at least I felt like I was in a dreamlike trance while I was watching this movie, whereas Tree of Life, I felt like I was in a nauseous state.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
All right, I'm going to finish off with a bit of blasphemy here. And if there's anybody who backs me up, I appreciate it. If you don't, I understand completely because I this is the outlier of outliers that I have here. This is a film that has 11% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics and 44% from the general audiences. On IMDb, it gets a 4.3 rating. On Metacritic, 27 out of 100. It's Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
I can't back you on that one.
I've
And
never seen this before.
I haven't
look,
seen it either.
many people admit that Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is not only the Beatles' best, but it may be one of the greatest albums of all time. The record's achievements include 17 years as the number one album on Rolling Stone's top 500 albums of all time. From the start of when they started doing that up until just a few years ago, it was the top album of all time. And most, provided one even knew the movie existed, would agree that Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is among the worst films ever brought to fruition. People loathe this movie because they feel it's a bastardization of the Beatles. I am the completely different opinion on this. This is when you talk about something that's fun and frivolous and entertaining, that's why I feel this way about this particular movie. It is certainly not a serious piece. It is, to me, it's like the forerunner, and that may be another thing that is a negative on it. It's the forerunner of the idea of trying to create a jukebox musical from a single artist's work. Before Mamma Mia existed, this movie existed, trying to do the same thing that Mamma Mia does, string together a bunch of songs from a particular artist and turn it into a entertaining film. The fact that Mamma Mia was able to do it successfully is only because somebody else tried first and failed. And the storyline in this is preposterous. The characters are silly and over the top. The acting from everybody is atrocious. But that's not what makes the movie entertaining. What makes the movie entertaining is that you got a bunch of Beatles songs presented in a slightly different way, produced by the way, George Martin produced all the songs, so it's not as if that was not done with some polish and professionalism. It was done with a lot of polish and professionalism. And if you like Beatles songs, there's a lot to love here. Earth, Wind, and Fire's Got to Get You Into My Life was a million selling single. Uh, Aerosmith had a top 40 hit with Come Together. Robin Gibb's version of Oh Darling is so sweet and smokin' that it's ridiculous. And it also charted in the top 40. The film is full of silliness, but it's just designed to be a summer romp, not something to be taken seriously, something to be enjoyed. And there's plenty to criticize in it. I understand that. But to me, it's just preposterous fun with outlandish caricatures and silly costumes and some of the greatest music ever recorded by some of the greatest artists of that era. And is it a classic? Hell no. Is it a good movie? No. But can you sit and watch it and be entertained? I think you can. And people who can't, I think you've blocked yourselves off from this for some reason. Now, Dave, you sound like you're one of those people.
Well,
So
you could watch it, or you could just, spare
Listen to the,
yourself and buy the record.
yeah.
'Cause,
Would you say the soundtrack record is okay?
half of it's great, and I agree
Okay.
with you that the Earth, Wind, and Fire's version of "Got to Get You Into My Life" is terrific, and Aerosmith's version of "Come Together" is the only Aerosmith song I actually like. Um, but yeah, the music itself, as middling as a lot of it is the sole reason any of that movie is worth enduring. And you can just buy the soundtrack album if it's still in print and spare
so
yourself.
I want to ask you this, Richard. How would you compare this to I think like the 2007 Across the Universe that also does a lot of Beatles songs in that?
Well, Across the Universe is a much more artistic film that has bigger ambitions and tells a very different kind of story. Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is a cartoon story. It's like something from a Saturday morning cartoon show for kids. And Across the Universe is more like Well, I'm trying to think. It's an adult Broadway play, trying to, it's like Rent for people who sing Beatles songs.
Okay.
Well, you're mentioning of Mamma Mia because that's what I was thinking as you're talking about this. It's also the thing for me for the movie Tommy. Tommy and Mamma Mia, I think are terrible films. I think they are. I just think, you know, but I can't stop watching either of them once I start because the music is so good. And I'm watching Mamma Mia going, oh God, this movie is terrible. Oh, but here's the song. I gotta listen to this song. This song is great. And it's the same for Tommy. It's terrible, but oh my God, Pinball Wizard and all this stuff is done really good. So I understand where you're coming from, but I have not seen Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Yeah, I've not either. And
Just
when it
by
comes
the
to Mamma
record.
Mia movies, the Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again is better than Mamma Mia.
Well, we won't get into that battle right now,
That's
but
another controversial opinion right there, but
yeah, I've seen both of them. I don't remember either of them well enough to say that one was better than the other. I just remember feeling, kind of the same way. I enjoyed being there. I enjoyed listening to the songs. Some of it was terrible. As I recall, Pierce Brosnan singing is something that
Oh
should never
gosh,
be endured
yes.
by any human being.
Oh yes.
uh,
Oh yes. I think I don't know if I named my award after him or whether it was somebody else, but the Pierce Brosnan Award of the worst singing in a musical, it's gone uh to Miss Rob, what's his name?
Russell
Uh
Crowe.
Russell Crowe.
yeah.
Russell Crowe, and then in Sweeney Todd, what's her name? Uh
Helen Bonham
And
Carter.
Hathaway.
yeah, Helena Bottom
No, 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 you're right. Sorry, not Sweet Todd. Sorry, I don't.
yeah, Helena Bottom Carter and Sweeney Todd.
Okay.
Yeah, just people who can't,
Well, the
especially
the
when everybody else can.
Sergeant Pepper's is populated with people who can sing but not act.
Right.
That's fair.
So maybe that's why
Yes.
it has that slight advantage.
Oh, and
All
one
right,
more thing too.
sure.
'Cause I know that both like Howard and you, Richard, Dave. Sorry, Dave. You both
Thanks.
mentioned. Sorry, you both mentioned like movies that you change your opinions on. I only have got one, and I'm not going to talk about it. And that is The Big Lebowski. The Big Lebowski. I hated it when I first watched it, and then it was like my second or third watch where I enjoyed it more.
I think that'll be another theme that we'll do down the road, films that we've changed our opinions on over the years. I think that would be
That'd be
potentially a
good.
good show. So
Yeah.
I'll put that on my list of things to talk about, as well as that exit question that I was mentioning earlier.
Dibs on showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do that too.
All right, we're going to take a quick break to hear from a fellow Lamb Podcasting Network show, and then we'll be back with our exit question of the week.
What do Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Treasure of the Sierra Madre have in common? What about Goldfinger and the Spy Who Came In from the Cold, the Blues Brothers, and Silence? There's only one way to find out, and that is to listen to Howard Casner and Pop Art, a podcast where we find the art in pop culture and the pop culture in art. For each episode, my guest chooses a movie from pop culture, and I'll choose a film from the movie from the more art indie classic foreign side of cinema that has a connection to it. So for those who want to know about Jurassic Park and Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and Son of Frankenstein, tune in to Pop Art on Apple iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, and other streaming platforms near you.
We're back, and it's time for the exit question of the week. We've been talking about a lot of films that our opinions differ from the rest of the world's for a variety of reasons, and that kind of evoked this thought in my head. What's been the worst consequence of a difference of opinion that you've had with a friend over a movie? In other words, have you ever broken up with somebody because you had a difference of opinion over a movie, or stopped talking to a person for a while? Or did you ever poison them because of their opinion on a movie? Because there are plenty of movies where I felt like I might want to do that. Uh, Tell us your story. Tell us about a film that divided your opinion with a friend and resulted in your having at least some kind of change or some kind of discussion. Howard, let's start with you. What was a film that divided you, and what was the story between you and that person that you were divided with?
Well, in LA, I had a friend where we started going to the movies together at least once a week, and then, we would have coffee after it. And after seeing this film, it came to an end. And it wasn't just only because of the difference of opinion of the movie. It was to some degree how we disagreed. And mine was based on a misunderstanding. We went and saw Pacific Rim. I thought this was so horrendously awful movie. I didn't see how anybody could possibly like it. The characters are non-existent. The dialogue is laughably bad. The character arcs are uninteresting and boring. You have a lot of nice special effects, but I didn't remotely care about any of it. My assumption was that he agreed.
Howard, we can't be friends anymore?
Well, I thought he hated it too. So when we got to talking about it, we sort of got into an argument about it. And since I had misunderstood, it wasn't until later that I realized, oh my God, he liked this movie. He really liked this movie. And that was my mistake because I was approaching it from the wrong angle. So we did get a little heated, but he never wanted to go to the movie with me again, mainly because he didn't want to get into any heavy, dramatic discussions. He didn't want to be involved in discussions where we disagreed. And we actually stopped finally becoming friends because, in many ways, that's the only reason why we were friends. Once that was taken away, I was sure I really wanted to hang around with him outside of that.
Well, when movies are an important part of your life, I can see that a division in opinions on them could affect your decision as to who you want to spend time with or that kind of thing. But it seems to me like it would be very hard to end a friendship over a single movie because you had a difference of opinion. But I know it happens, and obviously it happened in this situation.
Well, if I had known that he hated it, I mean, if I had known that he had loved it, I think the discussion would have gone a different way.
You might have been moderated your opinion the way you expressed it, maybe.
Or the way we discussed it. I just
Yeah.
assumed. I just was going, I don't see how anybody could possibly like this movie. And that was the mistake I made.
Yeah, I could see how language like that would certainly create a cold climate for your relationship. Dave, how about you? Have you got a story to tell?
Yeah, I do. This one is regarding A Clockwork Orange. I think it's a masterpiece. And speaking of unpopular opinions, I think it's Kubrick's last masterpiece. My wife thinks it's mean-spirited, rapey, misogynistic, and doesn't care about any of its underlying themes. And early in
And
our
what's the
marriage,
problem with it?
early in our marriage, I had a few friends over to watch it, and I was the only one in the room who'd seen it before. And she was kind of pissed that we found it so entertaining. And this was back when we lived in a tiny one-bedroom apartment. She couldn't simply go to another room, so she left the house at about the 40-minute mark. She was congenial about it, but when she got home, I kind of got the silent treatment. Then we had an argument because she felt really uncomfortable being the only room in a room of guys watching this movie, especially
I
during,
can imagine why.
yeah, especially during, a lot of the scenes that appeared to be making light of sexual assault. And she was disgusted and concerned that her new husband would find this movie worthy of anything. The rape, the assault, the murder, all that stuff. Not only did she hate it, she seemed a little pissed that I didn't. And even today, it sort of bothers her that I still love this movie. And I've long since given up defending its worth as social satire. I think she accepts that I like it, but that's one of those movies that we are sharply divided in every way possible.
Note to self: give for a wedding anniversary gift giant size poster of Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, that'll go over well.
Those are no-
She doesn't even like it when I wear my Clockwork Orange T-shirt.
Oh, shoot.
Well, Clockwork Orange is something that I have changed to a degree. I think the last good movie Kubrick did was Dr. Strangelove. And I didn't like Clockwork Orange, but not for the reasons that you mentioned. Mine is for the unpopular opinion that I think Malcolm McDowell is miscast and isn't
Really?
very good. Uh, but once I made peace with that I wasn't going to like Malcolm McDowell, I began to like the movie a lot more, and I appreciate it for what it is.
Oh, I do think it's a masterwork, not his last great masterpiece, but definitely a good masterpiece indeed.
Well, Dave, I'm going to tell you, my late wife and your wife probably felt the same way about Kubrick and Kubrick films. She was not a fan, and whenever I would watch these movies, she tolerated them, but she was not happy about it. And like I said, not a fan. And we had a few experiences over the years that were like that. She was fine. Uh, one of my favorite stories is seeing Reservoir Dogs, and after the movie, she turned and looked at me and she said, "You owe me big time."
Oh my God, I got the same reaction for that.
She was not happy. And fortunately, it was one of those, it was a minor thing in our relationship. It turned out not to be the most important difference of opinion that we had,
Mhm.
but it was always a bone of contention. And when it's your spouse, I think it's probably an important thing to pay attention to. And yeah, I wouldn't suggest that you go to a screening of A Clockwork Orange for a birthday celebration.
No, duly noted.
Vern, what's your story?
Oh gosh, the weird thing is too is that I have shown friends movies that I don't think they should have watched, and sometimes they will watch them, and at the end they're like, "I can't believe you showed me that. I don't think we should be like friends anymore." But they still, for the most part, have been friends with me. I have not lost a friend due to a movie that I've shown them. Um, I know some friends, I've shown friends' mother, and they got really upset and angry during the course of that movie.
This is
And
this
at the
is
end,
this is the lowercase mother, right? Not
yeah,
the capital.
this the one the exclamation point,
Yeah,
the Darren Aronofsky mother. I had them watch a
gotcha.
movie and they were being very frustrated. And at the end, they're like, "I'm going to go home. That's it. Can't talk to you for a little bit." And then the next weekend, they're fine. I know I had an argument with one of my friends over Strange Days. Catherine Bigelow's Strange Days. My buddy Dave and we have big arguments about that because he found that movie to be overlong and just a piece of crap, and nothing ever happens in that movie. It's all just mean-spirited, and I absolutely really kind of enjoyed Strange Days very much because he's a big James Cameron fan. And I'm like, James Cameron wrote this, and he's like, was this before he made Terminator? Because this seems very like early James Cameron, like Piranha 2 style, like James Cameron, right? And just writing stuff for just excess and nothing else. And then my good buddy Taylor Cisco, him and I have big arguments about Honora, and that he was pissed that Honora won Best Picture and all these other awards, and absolutely kind of enjoy Honora very much, and we had arguments about that. But yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have any big stories. I was trying to think in my head too about stories where friends would be upset with me. I really downed my whole friend group when I had them watch Requiem for a Dream because I thought the movie was actually really well done, and it was at a party. And maybe that's not the best movie to put
That
on during
doesn't
a
seem like
party.
a party film. Yeah.
It was apparently no one else did too, but I said this movie really helps calm me down, makes me happy. You might feel happy watching this, and no one did, and but yet they're still friends with me. So I don't know. It's yeah.
All right.
Come be my friend and watch depressing movies. Oh, I dated this girl once, and I had her over to watch the movie Kissed. Kissed is the story about a woman who is a
Necrophiliac.
necrophiliac.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And that movie actually got me to get pretty lucky that night, so surprisingly well. I was not surprised, not expecting that at all.
The necrophiliac aphrodisiac.
It
Jiminy
worked
Crickus.
it worked for some reason. She liked it very much.
Well, I've never had an experience like that. That sounds pretty weird to me, but that's that's okay. I'm glad it worked out for you. Uh, I had a friend. He was actually my debate partner in college. I'm still friends with him today, so we didn't end our friendship over this. But we had an argument way back in 1982 that I remember, and over the years, it has informed me. Every time we talk about movies, I try and keep in mind that he has a different way of seeing things as a consequence. So I'm not so much guarded in what I say as I am more tolerant of some of the things that he says. Uh, we talked about E.T. when it was released, and I was praising it and talked about how it'll probably be a long-term classic and something that people will be able to share with their families for years. And he was very dismissive of it. He says it'll never live up to the same standard as Mary Poppins. And I'm not going to diss Mary Poppins, of course, because I think that's a terrific family film as well. But I was really surprised that he was so unwilling to see this movie, E.T., the extraterrestrial, as something that would kind of fit into the long-term filmography for people, for families. And so it was strange to me. And over the years, I've discovered that he has very different opinions about a variety of things that I have. And we talk about movies occasionally, but I always try not to let it get to the point where I'm saying something so definitively that it would cause him to push me off the cliff, or vice versa, take his opinion so harshly that I would, cut it off. But one example that comes years later that illustrates this difference of opinion continuing to exist, he thinks that the remake of The Taking of Pelham 123 with Denzel Washington and John Travolta is better than the original. And
Oh,
Wow.
to me, that's a
whoa.
sacrilege. But I can't very well say to him, what drug are you smoking that would make you think such a thing? Because I just know that he has a different sensibility about things and doesn't look at movies the same way. So I've kind of had to adjust the way I think about the way he thinks about films. Not that
Give me his number. I'll tell him.
I see.
I haven't bothered to see the remake because it didn't get good reviews, or
Oh, I,
good
I
press.
saw
So I
the
just
re
said,
I saw the remake first, and then I saw the original, and yeah, the original is like way better than the remake.
the original Taking of Pelham 123 is a classic, and the remake is it's an entertaining enough 90s style film, but it's not anything that I ever needed to revisit.
Oh,
I and but like I said, he that came up, and I flashed back 35 years to our first discussion about the Mary Poppins and E.T., and I said, this is somebody who just thinks differently than I do about movies. And you got to keep that in mind when you're talking to him about these things. So I let it slide. I'm not willing to end a friendship over, John Travolta and Denzel Washington, and I'm certainly not willing to end it over E.T. over Mary Poppins. But I tread a little bit differently. I don't avoid saying my opinion, but I'm careful about how I phrase my opinion sometimes.
that's fair. Yeah, this is a good topic, Richard. I hope you do this topic again because I've got other movies. Because when you guys are talking about your other features, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I didn't mention this movie or this other movie. So I hope
Yeah,
we do
"Oh
this
yeah, there are a
again.
lot of movies I could talk
yeah.
about like this." Yeah.
I think unpopular opinion will be a recurring theme in our future shows. Probably we'll try and do one every year. So keep that in mind for future years, so that when it comes around to signing up for a Lambcast, you're on board. Well,
Sounds great.
I want to give everybody a chance here to promote whatever they have to for our audience to turn their eyes and ears to. So Vern, what have you got that you would like to share with people this week?
Well, my current episode available right now is on my top 10 best movies and my five worst of the year. So check that out, cinemarecall.net. That's and then we're kind of on this like hiatus until I would say the end of February, like the towards the end of February, we're going to be on a little hiatus and then, but there'll be other written reviews on the website.
All right. By the way, I have been enjoying Brian De Palma lookbacks.
Oh, yes, De Palma December. That's right. We're out for our YouTube and our main page. Yes, we have been re-releasing those episodes. That's been a lot of fun. And that's got me into like watching like Wise Guys and uh stuff I'd never known that he did before. So I may have to do another episode on that soon.
All right, Joe Piscopo film. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Dave, how about you? You got something that people should be looking for?
Just keep going to Free Kittens for up-to-date Blu-ray and 4K reviews. Latest is a review of the 4K of Tron Ares, and you look forward to this one, Richard. One Battle After Another, which I apparently like a lot better than you do.
The whole world
Everybody
does.
likes it a lot.
Yeah, I like
better
that
than
one
us.
too. Sorry.
Like I said, I tried to avoid falling into that trap today, but it still comes up occasionally. That happens. All right, and Howard, I know that you're getting ready to relaunch Pop Art, and we've got a February theme coming up. Is there a film that you, for example, are there past February Pop Arts that we should be looking at?
Well, you did the last one, which was A Ghost and Truly Madly Deeply. One of the more interesting ones was someone chose what is the teenage vampire Romeo and Juliet?
Twilight?
No, Romeo and Juliet. It's with Nicholas Hoult and
Oh, a
Oh,
vampire, really? I know
Redfield?
there was a
no,
zombie movie.
zombie
Zombie movie.
movie.
Oh, that was
Oh,
Warm Bodies.
yes, there it is.
Warm Bodies. So that was a really good one. Warm Bodies with I Walked with a Zombie about two love stories connected to the living dead or to zombies. And then the other one that was interesting was the one with Meryl Streep and Albert Brooks,
Defending Your Life.
Defend Your Life.
Defending Your Life, which I combined with Orpheus, both about love stories that take place after someone's death. So,
Hmm.
yeah, have a
did-
look at those.
I remember
you
doing
find
a
them wherever you
podcast.
find. Huh?
I remember doing a podcast on Once and Music and Lyrics. Was that on your show?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. That was it. Maybe that was the last one because maybe you've done two of them.
Well, anyway,
'Cause
I'm looking.
didn't you do Ghost and
Yes,
Truly Madly Deeply? So
I
yeah,
did.
you've done two of them, and now you're sort of my regular Valentine's Day gift.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing it again, and I'm glad that Pop Art's coming back, and I'm glad that you're feeling better. I want to thank everybody for joining me this week for our innovative new themed show. Howard came up with this suggestion not too long ago, and it had been something that had crossed my mind a couple of times, but I think that when Howard endorsed it and suggested it, it was obvious that this was a show that would be a lot of fun. And I hope that you've had as much fun with it as I have. My unpopular opinion this week is that Dave's wrong about Blade Runner, and you know,
Of course.
and I'm right about Sergeant Pepper. But so we're all going to end up about on the unpopular side of something. Thanks everybody for being here this week, and we'll see y'all soon.
You've been listening to the Lambcast. If you have an idea for a show or would like to join us on the Lambcast, contact us at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Find us on Facebook, just search for Lambcast, or on X, formerly Twitter, at Lambcast. And you can find us on YouTube as well. The Lamb site can be found at largeassmovieblogs.com. We'd also love it if you would leave a review on iTunes.